Imagine driving down a foggy, rain-slicked highway in the Pacific Northwest, the kind where the evergreens loom like silent witnesses, and the distant hum of the city fades into an eerie quiet. It's the early 1980s, and you've just picked up a ride from a stranger in a battered pickup truck. The radio crackles with static, playing some forgotten rock tune, and the driver seems ordinary quiet guy with a steady job, talking about the weather to fill the silence. But as the miles stretch on, the turnoff to the main road never comes. Instead, the truck veers toward a desolate stretch along the Green River where the water rushes cold and unforgiving. What starts as a simple lift turns into your worst nightmare, vanishing into the shadows without a trace. This isn't just a story, it's the chilling reality of the Green River case, one that gripped the nation and exposed the darkness hiding in plain sight. Welcome to Crime Justice, where we uncover the truths behind the headlines. Today, we're diving deep into the saga of Gary Ridgway, the man who became known as the Green River Killer. The scene unfolds in the sprawling, misty suburbs of Seattle and Tacoma, Washington. During the gritty haze of the 1980s, picture a time when the tech boom was just a whisper on the horizon, and the streets of the SeaTac area pulsed with a mix of blue-collar workers, truckers hauling freight from the ports, and those on the fringes scraping by in motels and under overpasses. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp pine and exhaust fumes, and the Green River, a winding waterway snaking through King County, served as a natural divider between the urban sprawl and the wild, wooded outskirts. It was a place of hidden beauty, with hiking trails and fishing spots drawing families on weekends, but also a dumping ground for the forgotten. Prostitution thrived along Pacific Highway South, nicknamed the Strip, where neon-lit bars and all-night diners catered to transients and those down on their luck. Runaways from across the country flocked here, drawn by promises of quick cash or escape from troubled homes, only to find themselves vulnerable in a city that, back then, often turned a blind eye to the missing among society's margins. The rain fell relentlessly, blurring the lines between day and night, and in that perpetual gloom, evil found fertile ground to operate unchecked. At the heart of this nightmare were the women, young, resilient souls, navigating a world that had already dealt them harsh hands. They weren't just statistics. They were daughters, sisters, friends with dreams deferred. Wendy Lee Caulfield, just 16, had run away from her group home in Seattle, dreaming of a fresh start after a childhood marked by instability. She was last seen on July 8, 1982, near the Starlight Theater on Pacific Highway, hoping for a ride that might lead somewhere better. Giselle Ann Laverne, 17, vanished days later on July 17th, her family holding out hope until her body surfaced. Deborah Lynn Bonner, 23, was a mother trying to support her child, disappearing on July 25th after a night out. Marcia Faye Chapman, 31, had overcome addiction and was rebuilding her life when she went missing on August 1st. Cynthia Jean Hines, only 17, was full of youthful energy, last spotted on August 11th. Opal Charmaine Mills, another 16-year-old, followed on August 12th. her laughter silenced forever. Terry Renee Milligan, 16, faded from sight on August 29. Mary Bridget Meehan, 18, vanished on September 15th, leaving behind a trail of unanswered calls from loved ones. Deborah Lorraine Estes, the youngest at 15, disappeared on September 20th, her small frame no match for the dangers lurking. Linda Jane Rule, 16, was gone by September 26th. Denise Darcel Bush, 23, on October 8th. Shonda Leah Summers, 16, on October 9th. Shirley Marie Sherrill, 18, between October 20th and 22nd. Lori Ann Raspotnik, 15, around November 26th. Rebecca Becky Marrero, 20, on December 3rd. Colleen Renee Brockman, 15, on December 24th, the same day as Sandra Denise Major, 20. Into 1983, Wendy Marie Stevens, 14, in March. Alma Ann Smith, 18, on March 3rd. Dolores Laverne Williams, 17, between March 8th and 14th. Gail Lynn Matthews, 23, on April 10th. Andrea Marion Childers, 19, on April 14th. Sandra K. Gabbert, 17, on April 17th. Kimikai Reichs Pitzer, 16, also on April 17th. Mary Jane Malvar, 18, on April 30th. Carol Ann Christensen, 21, on May 3rd. Her case would later become a haunting centerpiece. Martina Teresa Authorley, 18, on May 22nd. Then came Cheryl Lynn Wims, 18, in May. Yvonne Untosh, 17, on May 31st. Carrie Ann ROI, 15, in June. Constance Naone, 21, on June 8th. Yvette Flatten, 15, on July 13th. Her remains found years later in 2001, tucked away in a wooded spot. Crystal Marie Godoy, 21, on July 23rd. Lisa Kidwell, 16, on July 8, 1983, her body discovered in 2003 near a golf course. Kelly Marie Ware, 20, on July 18th. Tina Marie Thompson, 21, on July 23rd. April Butts, 17, in August. Vicki Lynn King, 25, in May 1983, but body found later. Debbie May Heldebrandt, 17, in June 1983, and the list stretched on. Denise Meyer, 21, in August 1983. Maureen Ann Feeney, 19, in September. Mary Elizabeth West, 16, in September. Alice Marie Hedges, 19, in October, found alive initially, but her case tied later. Cindy Smith, 17, in December 1983. Cheryl Lee Wims, wait, already noted. Into 1984 and beyond, more names emerged. Tina Marie Thompson, duplicate noted, but uniquely. Patricia Ann Leitz, 23, in 1984. Mary Margaret Smith, 22, in 1982, but late discovery. Pamela K. Reed, 23, in 1983. The confirmed tally reached 49. Each woman with a story of struggle and spark many sex workers, runaways, or those entangled in the underbelly of survival. Their disappearances, initially dismissed as just another sad statistic in a transient world. The encounters began innocuously enough, blending into the fabric of the strip's nightly rhythm. Gary Ridgway, a seemingly unremarkable truck painter at the Kenworth plant in Renton, would cruise the highway in his light-colored pickup, often marked with flecks of primer paint from his job. He'd flash a few dollars, offer a ride or a place to crash. His quiet demeanor and church-going facade disarming any initial wariness. Once isolated, perhaps in his home on Military Road, the cab of his truck, or a remote wooded pullout, he'd turn predatory, overpowering them with brute force and ending their lives through suffocation, leaving no room for escape. Bodies were then discarded like refuse, some weighted and sunk in the Green River's murky depths, others scattered in thickets along the I-5 corridor near Star Lake or the abandoned Cummer Road dump site. The first cluster surfaced on July 15, 1982, when hikers spotted Wendy Caulfield's form bobbing in the river near Auburn, her belongings nearby as if she'd simply wandered off. Weeks later, on August 12th, Deborah Bonner's remains washed up downstream. Then came the triple discovery on August 15th, near the southern end of the river. Marcia Chapman and Cynthia Hines, side by side in shallow water, their forms partially exposed to the elements and opal mills. Just yards away, her clothing twisted in a final futile struggle, arms bearing marks of resistance. The sights multiplied bodies, turning up in clusters, like the 5 near the river's bend in September, or the solitary finds in wooded ravines. Each scene a grim tableau of isolation, with ligature marks hinting at the method, but no fingerprints or weapons to trace. Ridgway later confessed to revisiting some sites, driven by a compulsion he couldn't shake, even posing with the remains in twisted moments of control. He claimed over 70 in total, though 49 were proven, targeting those he saw as easy marks because their absences stirred less immediate alarm. The pattern escalated through 1983, with Carol Christensen's body found on May 8th in a wooded thicket off the highway, wrapped in plastic and posed with a paper bag over her head, a macabre signature that fueled media frenzy. By mid-decade, the dump sites spanned 200 square miles, from rural lots to airport fringes. Ridgway's factory schedule and weekend forays allowing him to strike methodically, twice weekly at peaks, always returning to his routine life as a thrice-married family man. As the body count climbed into double digits, the King County Sheriff's Office scrambled to respond, forming the Green River Task Force on August 16, 1982, one of the largest homicide units in U.S. history, ballooning to over 50 detectives by 1984, led by figures like Sergeant John McLean and Detective Dave Reichert. They canvassed the Strip relentlessly, interviewing hundreds of witnesses under the relentless Pacific drizzle. Tips poured in. A dark-haired man in a white truck, seen arguing with women before they vanished. Early leads zeroed in on vehicles in pounds of pickups for paint chip analysis. Since Ridgway's job left microscopic flecks on his clothes and victims' skin, polygraphs were administered to dozens, including Ridgway himself in April 1984, when he volunteered as a helpful citizen, passing with flying colors while inwardly calculating his next move. The task force chased Phantoms, a transient named William Lempel, held for months in 1983 on circumstantial ties, but released for lack of evidence. Melvin Foster, a handyman whose alibis crumbled but led nowhere. In 1986, desperation peaked. They consulted Ted Bundy, the notorious Florida convict, via phone from his death row cell. Bundy, drawing from his own playbook, suggested the perpetrator might return to the sites for further interaction with the remains, a chilling insight. Ridgway would echo in confessions. Budget cuts gutted the unit in 1987, shrinking it to a skeleton crew amid public outcry and editorials decrying the forgotten women. Searches combed riverbanks with divers and cadaver dogs, yielding partial remains like those of Gail Matthews in September 1983, her jewelry intact as a heartbreaking identifier. Forensic hurdles abounded. Decomposed bodies yielded little DNA in the pre-PCR era, and the sprawl of sites diluted patterns. Yet persistence paid off in fits. A 1987 search of Ridgway's home and truck turned up fibers and a saliva sample from a cigarette butt, logged but dormant. Interviews with survivors painted a composite, a mild-mannered regular, Bible in the glove box, who lured with small talk before the mask slipped. By the late 90s, as cold cases piled up, the team revisited evidence. But Ridgway slipped through, remarrying in 1988 and attending church, his outward normalcy a perfect camouflage. The turning point came like a thunderclap in the digital age, shattering to decades of stalemate. In March 2001, advanced DNA profiling, long awaited, reanimated the evidence vault. Analysts at the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab matched Ridgway's 1987 saliva sample to semen traces from 3 early victims: Marcia Chapman, Opal Mills, and Carol Christensen. The hits were irrefutable, linking the mild-mannered painter to the river's ghosts. On November 16, 2001, surveillance teams tailed Ridgway from his Auburn home to the Kenworth plant, arresting him mid-shift in the paint shop, handcuffs clicking amid the hum of machinery. Charged initially with 4 counts, the floodgates opened. Under interrogation in a Stark County jail, Ridgway stonewalled at first, but facing the death penalty, he bartered truths for life. Over 18 hours of taped sessions with prosecutor Jeff Baird, he mapped his deeds with cold precision. 71 in his estimate, though he struggled to recall faces, admitting, "I did the majority of them in the truck. I'd drive out to the woods and leave them there." Revelations poured out. He deburned scratches from Marie Malvar's resistance with battery acid during a 1983 interview, standing casually against his fence to hide them. He posed bodies for photos, keeping Polaroids as trophies. One victim, Andrea Childers, was left alive initially after he thought her dead, only for her to wander off fatally injured. The task force, revived under Reichert, now sheriffs, cowered his leads, confirming sites like the 2003 recovery of Malvar's remains from his yard, a bombshell twist, paint spheres from his factory, overlooked in the 80s, speckled victims' clothing, a forensic breadcrumb trail ignored until retested. Ridgway's third wife, Judith, unwittingly aided the case, noting his odd absences and church hypocrisy. The man who'd evaded capture for 19 years crumbled, his facade of piety exposed as he detailed luring women because they were disposable. His remorse, a hollow afterthought. Justice arrived, not with a bang, but a calculated plea that spared the spectacle of a full trial. On November 5, 2003, in a packed King County courtroom, Ridgway, gaunt and bespectacled in a gray suit, stood before Judge Richard Jones and entered guilty pleas to 48 counts of aggravated first-degree murder. The deal, hammered out to avoid execution, traded his testimony for consecutive life terms without parole, effectively eternity in solitary at the Washington State Penitentiary. Families of the victims filled the gallery, some weeping as photos flashed on screens. Christensen's posed form, a stark reminder of the horror. Ridgway mumbled apologies, claiming faith had guided his cooperation, but his words rang flat against the enormity. Sentencing on December 18, 2003, drew national eyes, with relatives like Rebecca Marrero's sister confronting him. "You don't even know my sister's name." He received 480 years minimum, plus $10,000 fines per count. In 2011, another chapter closed when he pleaded to the 49th murder Rebecca Marrero's 1982 disappearance. Her bones unearthed in 2010 near Enumclaw, earning a 50th life sentence. Closures trickled in. Unidentified Jane Doe cases matched via his maps. Like Jane Doe B10 in 2003, named as Tammy Lyles. The task force disbanded in 2005, its $15 million toll a testament to endurance, while Reichert reflected on the baseball bat blows of each discovery. For families, it was bittersweet answers after decades of vigils, but voids unfillable. Ridgway, now 76, rots in Walla Walla, his letters hinting at more undiscovered graves, a lingering shadow. The Green River case reshaped forensics, amplifying voices of the marginalized and reminding us that monsters don't always roar. They whisper from the driver's seat. What aspect of the Green River investigation shocked you the most? The overlooked paint evidence or the sheer scale of evasion? If you could ask one victim's family a question, what would it be? And do you think modern tech would have caught him sooner? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every one. If this deep dive into true crime justice hit home, smash that like button. Subscribe to Crime Justice for more unfiltered stories from the USA's darkest chapters, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. For our international viewers, English subtitles are coming soon. Let us know if you need them in your language. Stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next case. Justice served, one story at a time.